So it's only recently, in February, where I had actually got a problem with one of my teeth. She was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And I called and say, oh, can I see the dentist? Not thinking that, oh, no, you can't, because we haven't seen the dentist for
4 years.
3 years. I was like, what, me? I work in dentistry. So anyway, I had to go for great lengths to this book my dentist appointment. Oh, your dentist is off for a month on holiday. I'm like, I'm like, oh my gosh, no what? Now I've got a tooth problem. So yeah, so when you told me about your platform, I'm just like, I'm actually like a walking advertisement. But they completely lost me there as a patient.
Hi, Janine. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, the business you've built? We'll go from there.
Hey, I'm Janine from the Dental Recruit Network. The business I built is because I have a passion for the recruitment processes to work and find a business solution for obviously dental practices. We proud ourselves in 95% success rate when we do permanent recruitment. We also do locums, so it doesn't matter how you look at it, we will always try our best to find a solution for a dental practice to function.
95% success rate?
Yes, permanent.
Actually, I'm not a dentist, which you know, of course. I have worked in healthcare for many years. I have never seen 95%. That's incredible. So what is peel back the onion, what goes into 95% success rate? How do you get there on placement?
It is how you vet the client. So the clinic, how big they are, how small they are, because every personality fits into a different environment. But ultimately, it is the candidate that is basically need to match. Now, some clinics will be purely based on skill set because they need it.
As in dental skill set?
Dental skill set, whether it's a dentist, a nurse, it doesn't matter. Everyone has their skills within a practice and everyone has their job within a practice. Everyone plays their role. So it's making sure that when we do the interviewing of the candidates for suitable jobs, that we actually do the matching really successful. Obviously, there's some things that can be out of our control, but we work with humans. So as best as you can do, working with a human, that's what we do.
So don't give away any trade secrets, which you've built over many years of running a great business. You say you do this matching.
Yes.
You have a big team now, so I think they probably do a lot of the matching.
Yes.
But when you were maybe closer to the fire, and you probably are still for certain roles, when you think about matching, what are you trying to match? So I guess dental technical skill is one of them, which you said. I'm interested in that personality piece. How do you get the thing that not necessarily the clinic says they want, because probably often what they say they want is not always what they actually want or what you think would do best for them? How do you feel that out? What are you looking for? What are the signs about the culture of the practice?
So we're in a very good situation in that respect because some of the dental practices I've been working with for many years, we already know their way of working. So then even sometimes if they don't even have a position, we will then say, hey, we've got your personality match, so to speak. You can always train people, but some practices, especially now, they want people with those skills because the competition between private practices, it's growing fast because more and more dental practices would do little corporates now. So they will expand and maybe have not just one place, but multiple, like 2 or 3 or 4 branches. And then you will have your high-end ones as well, Harley, Wimpole Street. I'm not saying every dental practice really is doing high-end dentistry. It doesn't really matter where they're based. Like, they're doing it for the best interest of the patients, of course, to providing that care. But the competition between them is quite, who's going to get the patient? The one just there or the one 5 minutes down the road from you? So the competition is quite fierce, I would say, between dental practices. So that's why when you get staff, they need to be good, because you want to convert them.
So tell me, so that makes sense. I think dental and maybe vet is another one, are parts of the healthcare market that are more mature in comparison to physio, chiro. It's an earlier stage of the development of the market. But in dental, that competition, as you're saying, is very high. when you get staff, they need to be good. And you emphasize the word good.
Yes.
What does good mean when you say they need to be good? Because a lot of people probably have dental technical skills. They train, they qualify, they refine the craft, but are they good? What do you mean by good?
Good means that the minute from your reception needs to be good, because when a patient walks into your clinic, its first impressions last always and always will. So the receptionists need to be welcoming. Obviously, they're managing the books, doing telephone manners needs to be exceptionally good. So that's how the front desk needs to run very efficiently. But in order to have that good, they might miss a bit of the recalls. So it's very important then to have a follow-up, which is either a treatment coordinator, because you can't expect a receptionist to do all of that. So recalls will naturally, depending on what systemization the practice got, naturally they will go out an email or a follow-up. It will be there, but sometimes it lapses. And then that's when good becomes not good anymore. So that's basically from reception. You need to allow the reception to do their job and be very good from telephone manners to manage the books, to take payments. There's loads of different things. And they will also have to deal sometimes with complaints that just all of a sudden the patient might call, I have a complaint about this. And they sometimes need to deal with that as well. Now, obviously, it can get passed on to management, but sometimes that management is just not there. So that's from reception side. From treatment coordinating side or the patient coordinating side, if that patient have not returned. So that is obviously not good. Good means if you make sure that the patient always come back, like a hook. A lot of practices can be so busy that the patient will not come back, or they just forgot about the patient, or it could be a year later and they have not actually done that follow-up. So that's the not good bit. But the good bit is if they've done the treatment for the patient, so the dentists have done the treatment plan, but it needs to now be discussed in detail. So the good from that perspective for the treatment coordinator is give that patient the option A, B, or C, what will be best for them. So that's basically that.
It's interesting when we're thinking about revenue, appointments, retention, you're thinking about team, capability, dynamics, talent as an asset, really. And it's interesting to hear you talk about good in two very different ways. Good technically from a dentistry perspective. If that's not there, it falls down. But then there's good on the service side, which is the experience, the engagement, the complaint handling, all of these. I hate to make it so simple, but it's basically customer service. These are different versions of customer service that also need to be good for the practice to be competitive. And it's interesting to hear you talk about the different jobs that particularly the front desk does. They have to do complaint handling, they have to do welcoming, they have to do appointment management, they have to do payments, they have to do all these things. I'm curious, you've been in industry for a while. How do you think the role of the front desk has changed from 10 years ago to today, or 5 years ago or today, or whatever the time is? How have the expectations changed? How have the requirements changed? Have they changed at all? How do you see that?
So one have changed is the sales side of it. So normally, if you say to a receptionist, you need to sell, I'm like, oh, I'm not selling. But you're not selling in a sense, you're doing it for the best interest of the patient, because you're giving them treatment plans to solve their problem. But it might come across as salesy, but it shouldn't be, because it's patient care. But because it's a treatment plan with money on it, it instantly think, oh, it's sales. And it feels like sales, but it's not sales. You're solving a problem to a patient and provide that care for them. So what have happened over the years is that the role of a treatment coordinator was developed, shall I say, to help with that aspects, to make sure that patients are coming back and they are going ahead with that treatment now. Because if they don't, In most cases, this patient might feel be embarrassed if they want further questions, for example. No, receptionists don't have time to do further questions. What's plan, option, or treatment plan 1, 2, or 3? They don't have time for that. They're busy at reception. So that's hence why the role of a treatment coordinator came in, to convert the client. That's all good. And actually make the patient understand what treatment they're going to need. But it is obviously, if you have to look at everything from reception, even though you book the appointment, you do the customer service, it is sales. It's a lot to do, but we see it as like welcoming, being friendly. So you've got that first point of contact. But then someone else needs to be a bit doing the drafting work, because the dentists have the next patient and the next patient and the next patient coming in. So they don't have time to explain everything. So there need to be someone else that do that bit as well now, explaining everything to them in detail, so you don't lose the patient. Because let's face it, some treatments just don't convert, and why they're not converting, because they need to be explained and what treatment is available for them. So I would say that is quite a big thing. And then obviously over the years now, you've got patients these days use ChatGPT to diagnose their problems. They come up with ideas.
Yeah.
So that's another thing as well. So it's also involving in a bit with AI as well now, so within the dental practices. And patients are more aware, like the General Dental Council, when can they go to the General Council for something, if the treatment wasn't properly done, etc., etc. So complex these days now, from reception to treatment coordinating to manage it, and then you still need to manage all the internal staff, and then there's the dentist, depending on the size of the practice as well. Some practices are small and nice and very personal, so all practices are really personal, but others are bigger, so it requires more management and more work, and it depends on the size, and it depends if they have small corporate, big corporate, or just purely high-end private, one guy or one dentist basically.
It's so interesting. We worked with a dental practice where there was a principal dentist, and he was the main show. He probably did 80% of the book or something like that. And it was so interesting to work with him because he knew every patient. He really knew them. It was a small practice. That intimacy between the practice and the patient, it was in his head. And he could hold that context because the patient book was a few hundred at any point in time, maybe a few thousand over the last few years, but he really knew them. He knew their names. He knew their family stories. He had that intimacy. And it was interesting because he had come from a larger practice. I think he came from a 5 or 6 surgery practice before. And he said that at that scale, when you are operating in 5 surgeries, 6 surgeries, the patient flow, the volume, you can't do that. You don't have the intimacy of the patient body. People come in once, they go away, you don't think about them ever again. They come in twice, they don't show up for 4 years, you don't think about them ever again. And it was interesting to hear him describe the sort of challenges of patient relationship when the patient body starts to grow, because the patient body grows, the practice team stays the same size. You don't suddenly get 5 more receptionists because you've got 5,000 old patients. You've got the same 3 receptionists that you had when you opened. It doesn't grow with the patient body, with the demands. And it's interesting to hear you say that. When you think about talent transformation, practice comes to you, let's talk about front desk, sales, TCOs, that role, or even on the dental side, because I guess some of the dentists are naturally better in patient relationship.
Some dentists are better manners in order to explain the treatment, but not all dentists can do that.
So let's say you have a dental practice that knows this is important, because some don't, right? Some will just say, no, that doesn't matter, but some will say, we know it's important to provide that support, that ease of communication, that relationship management, sales, conversion, retention, all this stuff comes from being able to better communicate and talk to and engage with the patients. When you think about helping a clinic build that team in the clinic room, at the front desk, TCO, wherever it may be, who are you looking for? Who is that person? What is their CV look like, or what are their experiences? What is their energy, their character, their focus from a talent perspective?
So when we do get a job description, we end up never with the same, because as you talk through with the dentist, in most cases the practice manager or the dentist, and you start talking through the role of what they actually need, it's almost like you have to work from backwards to forward a little bit, because they need to find the problem. Why do they need that person? Because, for example, if it's like, oh my gosh, we need a treatment coordinator. Why do you need a treatment coordinator? Is it because you're not implementing enough treatment plans? Is it because patients are not coming back? What is the reason for that? It's funny when we do get a job description, the movement throughout the process, you will have one interview and they will come back with feedback, and then you're like, oh, actually, you don't need someone with skills, you need someone with an oozing personality. Because why do you need that? Because you need someone to sell, and they need to be welcoming. Now, if you use the word sales in dental practices, everyone, but the treatment coordinator or patient coordinator, however you want to look at it, is a soft way of saying sell. But you're not selling, you're needing a solution to give exceptionally good patient care. Now, that's only saying sales because there's money involved, and not everyone is comfortable in speaking about money. And because they're in a caring place, they don't want it to seem like I'm selling stuff to you. I'm here to provide care. So when we do recruit for a job, you always have to go a little bit, okay, we've got a job description, perfect. We can then source quantity to what they want, but in most practices, because we know them for a very long time, we already know, okay, now I know you've asked me for a dental nurse, but do you want the dental nurse to do, oh no, she needs to follow up on treatment plans as well, and this and that. And then you can't ask one person to do so much. But ultimately, you want to, for any dental practice, you want to have your patient retention and make sure they come back. Because less stress for everyone. Everyone knows the patients, they're coming back. Recalls are working perfectly fine, which is great, but what if they don't? So I'm using the role of a treatment coordinator for this specific example, purely because if they say they want a treatment coordinator, there's a lot more into that, just saying you want it, or what is the real problem you're solving within your practice, saying that is what I need. I know you do need it in order to keep your practice running, but the treatment coordinator is busy obviously selling treatment plans. But what if those patients are not coming back? So normally when a practice gives us a job description, there's more to it than just, this is a job description, this is what I want. So you need to start digging sometimes a little bit more. Why do you actually need it? What is the underlying problem for it? Sometimes sometimes it can be straightforward. Yes, I just need a dental nurse, that's it. Everything else is flowing in the practice, and that's fine. But there's always a reason. But we're here to find a solution for a dental practice, to have enough staff to manage all the processes internally.
It's really interesting. I know you specialize in dentistry. We work in dental and dermatology, medical aesthetics, MSK, etc. And one of the things that we often find is that in dentistry, there is a very specific role, TCO. It's a known job, and the industry has accepted that someone needs to be in that role, which is this sort of guiding you from a problem you have to a solution. And you can call that sales because there's money involved, I agree, but really it's just supporting you to make a decision or not make a decision if that's what's right for you, but it is a very established role. If you go into most other healthcare environments, that role does not exist. There is no TCO equivalent in a high-end facial aesthetics practice or dermatology practice. You go in, you see the consultant, you see a therapist, you see a chiropractor, whatever it might be. You have that conversation, you walk out. You may or may not rebook, the reception will handle that, but this idea that a treatment plan of some kind is outstanding is very specific to dentistry, and it's so interesting because it seems obvious, to me at least, not knowing much about dental in terms of the inner workings of the practice, that logic of, I need someone, if it's a very big practice, I might need 2 people or 3 people, who are specifically dedicated to engaging, supporting, guiding the patient. The thing that I think is totally nuts is that focus only happens after a consultation. So you have a patient come in for a consultation, you talk about a treatment plan, the TCO gets involved, but if the patient A doesn't move forward or B moves forward, but then what? That attention disappears. So you've got a huge amount of focus up front. I understand why, obviously, but it's almost as though once they move past that point, they just fall into the long list of patients who came in at one point and are just out there somewhere. And I'm thinking about a dental clinic that we work with, different one, where they had an archived patient population. And they said, listen, we have, I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 patients archived. We don't really know why they've been archived, but they've just been archived. Some of them may have moved away, and they said, let's re-engage this population. Let's see if there are patients in there. And we started doing that work. I would say 80% of them were correctly archived, but 20% probably weren't. People who reached back out, oh yeah, I haven't actually been in since 2021. I don't know who's been looking after their teeth, but I haven't been in for 4 years, 5 years. I've been in for 6 years. It'd be great to come back. So why do you think that practices can't maintain that focus, that support, that direct hand-holding sort of TCO style relationship across the entire journey? Is that it only happens at this sort of pinch point up front?
It's the processes. I think there need to be better processes in place, then the time of following up as well to be successful. And as the rule I always say, the success to anything is follow up. And practices will have staff turnover. That's where I come in, and that's why I'm always busy, but busy in a good way, because we normally, once we place people, we want that they stay there, and then we want to make sure there's no staff turnover. But even if we make sure there's no staff turnover, if the processes is not there, these patients are not going to come back. So it's the following up, and I don't think, up until now, I don't think there was a solution for it. But now I think, and that's why the product that you've got is excellent, because you can now trigger those processes that's not working and convert those patients back, and then spend maybe less time on marketing, less time on constantly training. If you have the patients just coming, so they fall on your lap all the time or coming back, and this is not just repeat business, it's the best thing ever. You already know the patient, but somehow they disappear a bit. And no one knows why, because at the front, from reception to treatment coordinator, or a manager might have left, or reception might have left, or a treatment coordinator might have left. So every time you employ someone new, you have to go through the onboarding process again. So you have to go, it doesn't matter if they have experience or not, doesn't matter how long they've been in the dental industry. Every single person needs to be an onboarding process, because every single dental practice have their own way of working. So there's not one single practice that works the same, not one single one. Doesn't matter if they're the same corporate and have the same equipment and this. They have different people in there, different people. And patients, no one single patient is the same either. But when those frontline staff or your sales team at the front there's a staff turnover for whatever reason, even if you have low staff turnover, it doesn't matter. If that key person are leaving, who's following up then? So that's the problem.
It's so interesting. And until you said that, I hadn't, as you said, we work with practices to make sure that every patient has a next touch point, a next point of engagement, and hopefully a next step. Or if they decide not to take that next step, that it is for the right reason. They've moved away, great reason. They decided they don't want to do it. That's okay too. If it's not right for them, that's fine. A bad reason is life got busy. I was on holiday and I forgot. Bad reasons. So obviously that's what we do. Until you just said what you just said about staff turnover, I hadn't really clocked that. I think this is fundamentally a talent problem. You're a principal dentist, and your patient management relies on a specific person or persons pushing certain buttons, you have a critical failure. If that person is out sick, if they go on holiday, if they go on maternity or paternity, if they leave the practice, they take with them the entire process. It's just the solution is the thing that they've decided to do on Monday morning, or the thing they do on Tuesday afternoon. That's the way you currently solve that problem. Now that it seems very obvious, but it's that continuity that this thing is going to happen day, night, holiday, weekend, it's going to keep going.
Yeah. And there's another thing as well. And when there's a referral dentist, so you're a specialized practice, you've got dentists referring on to you, you do the treatment, but say the follow-up treatment needs to be in a year, so you're asking the specialist dentist that patient needs to come back just for a checkup, just to see if everything is still intact. Now that's even a bigger problem, because it's not one of your patients. You're doing the referral, you've done the treatment because you've been referred on by a general dentist to a specialist practice. But the specialist practice still want that patient to come back a year later. So that patient just sits there on the database because no one is following up on it.
You think it's this person's problem?
They will think it's, the dentist should have done that. Yeah, because the dentist must probably, they must probably remember all their 1,000 patients in their head, and most of them will. But it's really hard when you're just a specialist practice. You're only going to see the patient for 1 or 2 treatments done, and you're going back to your general dentist. But you the general dentist can obviously, they do their checkups and so forth. But when it's specialized work, they need to go back to the specialist referral for a year or 2 years. They normally will say, I need to see you in a year or 2. But then 5 years pass and you still haven't seen the patient yet. So who holds that?
We have heard, and we continue to hear, it's the patient's fault. We told them to come back. They knew they were supposed to come back.
Exactly. Life gets busy, doesn't it?
Of course it gets busy. The number of times we started working in the practice, and in the first week, we see a piece of correspondence from a patient saying, oh, thank you so much for getting in touch. Actually, I just moved back to the area. I was away on holiday. Oh yeah, I haven't been in for, I'd love to come back. We see the correspondence, we say, it's like a magical moment. As a dental practice, as a practice in general, you spend money on your website, you spend money on marketing, you spend money on your reception. It costs you an incredible amount to get 1 new patient. But we know this running business. So the cost and the complexity. We spoke to a dental practice recently that said their SEO and Google search traffic, which had been their primary driver of business, has fallen off a cliff. AI search is coming in, algorithms are changing. So you're spending all this time and money trying to get this interest all the way up here. And meanwhile, you've got all this interest down here. They've already been through the system.
They're already known to you as well.
They know you. You don't have to, why should I come to you versus go to them? All of that consideration is, they've already gone through that intellectually and emotionally. It becomes a question of, oh yeah, great, nice to hear from you. Yeah, how about next week? Well, that was easy. The complexity there. The other thing I think is interesting, and I'm curious if you see this as well, we do sometimes get correspondence from patients that say things like, oh, I decided to leave the practice because I didn't really have a great experience with X. And when we then share that information with the principal, they're often very thankful. They say, oh, that's really helpful feedback. Thank you. We didn't know that there was a problem there. Do you ever get into those conversations with practice owners where they're saying they're very good technically in their dentistry, but they're not able to cultivate the relationship with the patient, and so there's this friction there, and it's not a good fit for that reason?
Aftercare wasn't done.
And do you see that sometimes, that there's a headcount issue in that sense?
So there's one thing I mean about aftercare. So okay, go for like a living advertisement of this. So I haven't seen a dentist for 3 years, but I didn't know I have not, because I was so busy.
And you see a lot of dentists.
I see a lot of dentists. There's absolutely no reason for me not to not go. But it didn't say that the dental practice didn't do their job. They did send me an email. You need to come for your checkup. So I just look at my phone. Oh, I'm so busy. I'll do it later. And I put my phone down. And then, for whatever reason, I always go and do my hygiene appointment. But the only reason is because my hygiene appointment was always booked when I'm finished seeing the hygienist, the next appointment will be booked in 6 months or a year. So I will always attend my hygiene appointment, and I will get my reminders 2 days before. Remember your hygiene appointment, actually a week before and then 2 days before. So it says, so remember, as I said, the thing is like everything to success is following up. So that's already booked, and now they're just following up with my appointment that's already booked. So the hygienists haven't lost me as a patient. I've been in and out of this dental practice 4 times, or actually maybe 5 times in 2-3 years for hygiene.
But you haven't seen the dentist?
But it is so shocking because I passed reception, I paid, I was at practice management, was there, oh hello, how are you doing? No, great, thank you very much. But not one of them, because the system is now showing, the recall was saying this was sent, the job's basically done, and I walk out. So I booked my next hygiene appointment because I'm there. So it's only recently, in February, where I had actually, I got a problem with one of my teeth. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And I called and say, oh, can I see the dentist? Not thinking that, oh no, you can't because you haven't seen the dentist for 3 years. I was like, what, me? I work in dentistry. I was like, it's so embarrassing. Blimey, really? Have I not seen a dentist? No, that's my own fault. I'm thinking it's my own fault. But I was so busy, I put my phone down. If I must probably perhaps, just perhaps, if I had a phone call, I probably would have booked my dentist appointment, because people are so bombarded by SMSs and emails and stuff, or I might have not even seen my email because I get so many emails a day. Everyone is on WhatsApp these days. So it's very rare that you sometimes will go to the SMS, but it's like it did flash up on my phone. I'm like, I'll worry about it later, because I'm more in WhatsApp than I am in my SMS, but I don't know. I think if I did receive a phone call, I was probably, yes, oh gosh, I need to go and do that. So anyway, I had to go for great lengths to at least book my dentist appointment. Your dentist is off for a month on holiday, and I'm a month. I'm like, oh my gosh, now what? Now I've got a tooth problem. Right. So can someone else see me now? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we could potentially get you in, but you need to be seen by another dentist now. I was like, okay, fine. Because I was off skiing the week after that into France, so I don't want to sit up in the mountains with a tooth problem. So, but yes, it could say yes, a 50-50, yeah. It could be my fault, but it could also just be the follow-up aftercare of making sure a patient actually returns. I am a patient there, I am in the books, but I just haven't seen the dentist, but I've seen the hygienist. So both clinical, shall I say, both surgeries busy, hygiene surgeries and dentist surgery. So I can see the hygienist. Straight after seeing the hygienist, I can go and see the dentist. But somehow I got missed constantly. So, yeah, so when you told me about your platform, I'm just like, I'm actually like a walking advertisement. Yeah. Embarrassing to say that, because it's probably because I'm a bit in my comfort zone there, because I know so many dentists. Well, if I want to, I can just go to this one or that one. So the practice I went to doesn't know what I actually do. So you can sound like a secret shopper, shall I say. And I don't want them to, because normally if they do, then something goes wrong. So I just, you know what, So I'm like, I could say hand on heart, I'm like a walking advertisement there, that they completely lost me there as a patient. I was probably not the patient that will make thousands now, because my teeth is 110% fine. But in the future, if I needed implants and crowns and stuff, I didn't return. It's only because I'm like, oh, I need to see this tooth. And that's 3 years later. So they could have done in 3 years, they could have still made money out of me, so to speak, with checkups, or I might have needed minor filling, or anything like that. But that money has
gone. Not to mention maybe provide better care, because if they had caught something earlier,
I wouldn't have gone. I was like, oh my gosh, there's what's wrong with this tooth. And then I got all stressed out because I go off skiing up in the mountains. I could go up in the mountains, pressure flying. I was like, oh, I don't want to have a tooth problem when I'm abroad. But then I just thinking, they could have been better aftercare maybe from the practice. Life gets busy. We are busy. Everyone is busy. Absolutely. It's just, and things change so fast these days with everything around us as well. Yeah, I do think if you have a systemization that can just take care of that and prompt you, because it's a bit like advertisement. If you see your name everywhere and everywhere all the time, yeah, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to use you. But even I can't tell you promptly, hey, you haven't been, I might be a bit irritating, but people think, oh yeah, I will book when I will book. But you have to be like, we're here to provide you care. Can we help you? Because you can't just leave your team for 2-3 years. It just shows you it happens, and it actually happened to me. And then from when I look back at it, it's like they had a staff turnover of reception at the front. Now bear in mind, I'm not recruiting for this practice because they know who I am. But now after what have happened, I was like, I think I need to come and help them to actually show them how to give staff retention, because if you have your reception and management at the front, I think something might have gone back, but because you had that staff turnover, or you just obviously didn't have the right processes in place. That's quite obvious. The processes wasn't in place. No, I can't be the only patient in that whole of dental practice, and bear in mind there's 9 surgeries in this practice. And they're big. So I'm just one patient slipping through. So how many would slip through there?
I'll tell you, Mandy. 10%.
Oh, really?
That's the number, 10%. I don't know what actual number of patients that is, but what we see pretty consistently per month, 10% of your patient book slips. 10%. So if you do 1,000 appointments a month, you could be doing 1,100 appointments a month without spending anything more. You could lift 10% of your appointment book, harden 10% of the appointment book, just by doing what we're talking about, just following up. No new marketing spend. And by the way, if you do end up doing that, you can actually turn down the marketing spend, because now you have an additional 100 in a given month. You don't need to pay on. So what we find is oftentimes the number is 10%, sometimes as high as 20%, but oftentimes so 10, 12%, 12, 15%. But in that range is the opportunity uplift. We work for, outside of dentistry, we work with a group that they wanted to work with us for their new inquiries. They said, when people reach out to us, we want you to close consultations. Great, we do that, no problem. Can we take a look at your recall as well? We do recall. Okay, so then you don't mind if we try. We'll just take a shot at it. And they saw an 109% increase in recalls. 109%.
Because I was a recall patient, but then I just got busy. And I was not recalled back again.
Again. And it's the again, that word.
I wasn't recalled back again. And I didn't even think, it's only because I had, I need to look at this tooth. And they're like, you haven't been for 3 years. No, I'm good. I always come to the dentist. I always do my checkups. Every year. There's no way that I have not been. No way. I said, are you sure? I had to ask the reception lady twice. It's like, when have I last been? There's 2 things to it. Did the dentist not realize I disappeared as well?
There's some number, I think it's a social psychologist who says that any one person can maintain about 150 relationships in their life. Maximum. At any point in time, the maximum number of people you can think about, I don't know, there's like a known number, I think it's about 150. So if you're a dental practice, if you're a dentist, you're seeing 150 people a week. You can't hold the, oh yeah, what about? It just doesn't work. So the dentist, you walk in, I'm sure they know you, oh Janine, how are you? But they can't hold that context in there. Just the receptionist can't, or the practice manager can't, because you've got 15,000 patients.
Comment about the reception and practice manager, because they said this practice has got 9 surgeries. So if you have 9 surgeries and you multiply the amount of patients they see a day, if it was just 1 surgery, this probably would be a bit different.
It's traffic control.
But if you have 9 people coming and going all the time, like 9 surgery patients coming in now, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, however many days they work,
there's no chance.
You're not going to remember. And then a dentist, a private practice, on average will see between, I'd say, about 8 to 15 patients a day, depending on the treatment, obviously. So it's a bit like, imagine that over a month.
That's it.
And then another month. And that's basically most probably what happened to me. And then also when I said, oh my gosh, I need to book with the dentist is now on annual leave, so you need to go and see someone else. And I'm like, he's not on annual leave, so now I need to see a new dentist. So what, should I now wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks? No, I don't want to, because I've got a tooth problem now.
Last question for you, is I appreciate how generous you've been with your time. The flavor of the day, week, month, and year, and probably decade, is AI. How is this showing up based on the world of dentistry that you see? Where and how is AI impacting, changing, not changing? hype, real, legit, illegitimate? What are you seeing? Not slides in theory, not AI theater, reality. Who is implementing it, doing it the right way, seeing results? Are you seeing that in your work?
Let's say it's very small amount of practices that's embracing it, and you have to embrace it. It's there to help us. So for every job in a way, there's an AI product to make us even better and more successful. Let's face it, there's a lot of admin in dental practices. It is treatment plans, there's appointments, it's like typing, there's telephone calls, there's notes, there's this, there's taking payments, it's like a lot of admin all the time. So with these AI platforms coming in to lift that up, will just make everyone's life a lot easier. And that will then help you to have more patient relationship, patient care, give a little bit more time then because, oh, I'm busy, I need to do this, I need to do that. Take care of them so you don't lose them basically. And then you build that relationship, because once you have that relationship, the patient will come back. But if you did not spend a little bit more time with them, then you will lose them. So that's why I think using the AI platform, so there is a small percentage of practices, they're very forward thinking. Other AI platforms as well that they use for the 3D dimensional things, sent away, this, that, whatever. There's loads of other things that, when there's so many AI platforms at the moment anyway. But the bottom line is it's also quite very overwhelming. It's like, which AI platform actually works? And then you might try it, and because you don't quite understand the whole process from A to Z, you end up not doing it. So you start it, but you're not finishing it. So you're better off working with AI platforms that's designed specifically for the need of the practice, and what, rightly so, what Coherent is doing is like, there's definitely a need for dental practices to use the platform. It's there to help you to spend less money on social media, SEO. If you have staff turnover, which generally it happens with every single dental practice, but you don't want to lose your patients. So you might lose some of your staff and they will come back and you will have excellent staff throughout the year, but they might go off on maternity leave. And that is no one's fault. But you won't have the processes and have patients to constantly come back. So that person leaves, the patient goes where? So they need to come back. So I think AI platforms, if you embrace it, it can actually free up your time so much and thinking, oh, what else can I improve now? So if it's there and it helps your practice to improve,
Go crazy.
why not?
It's interesting, and just as a closing thought, one of the things that we hear most often when we speak to practice owners is exactly what you just said, which is, I know I should be doing something. I want to try something, but this is a weird thing, and there are a lot of them, and do I try this one or do I try that one?
Yeah.
Or maybe I tried that one and it did not work, and I don't really want to go down that road again. We have seen a lot of this, and it is a problem.
Because they're not trusting that these AI platforms is this actually what we want to do? And I end up not doing it at all. If you have the right one, once you have got it, there's a point to no return. But then, which ones?
Thank you so much for coming in. Wonderful to hear about your experience. And I think for the dentists out there, and actually any clinic owner, practice owner, or practice leader out there, I think there's a lot to probably take from the view that you bring around talent as the unlock for growth, decision-making, forward-thinking activity and practice. So thank you for sharing that. Really excited to see if that helps anyone who's listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jared, for having me.
Pleasure.